Hi. So before we get started, I wanted to show you that there's a couple of ways to build this rig. And the first way I built it was with the spline wrap deformer to put the chain over the gears. And it looks, let's see here, looks good. This is a rendered out version of it, and everything works great. The problem is when you hit play in the viewport. You see this thing is having a hard time getting started, about a frame per second. That really isn't going to work. So if we turn off the sides extrudes, we'll get a little better play, but still less than 3 frames per second, and the viewport is very unresponsive. So let's turn that off. So that wasn't going to work because the video that I wanted to do with these has at least 20 or more of these gear setups. It was the video that I played at the beginning of this tutorial. So I had to come up with a different way of doing this, and you can see that if I hit play with this, it'll play over 40 frames a second, well more than I need, and as you can see, the viewport is really easy, smooth, and you want even more play out of it, you can turn these off on the fly, and now you've got over just about 60 frames a second, and you move around the viewport. So we're going to build it this way, and let's get started. Okay, so we want to start with our gear, so let's go up to the splines, or the pen, and grab a cogwheel. Alright, and I'm going to press F4 to go into my front view, F4 on the function keys. So let's go in here, and the first thing we want to do is, invalid is fine, let's grab 32 teeth. Okay, and then we'll get that back in the viewport. And the reason I'm going with 32 is that I want to have 3 gears in this rig. And so I want a large, a medium, and a small. So if I use 32, when I go to my medium, I divide that in half, 16. And for my small, divide that in half, and I'll have 8 teeth. So 32, 16, and 8 teeth. That will ensure that once we get this chain set up to fit into these teeth, that it will work on all 3 gears. Okay, so let's start with in here, actually let's start with the pitch radius and make that 290. All these things seem to change everything else around. We want this to be around 275, so let's put 275 in there, and we're going to come down to the addendum radius and make that 308. See, it's changing. The pitch radius is already changing. We can leave that. That's close enough to our 290. The module is at 118. Is 18.118. That's fine. The diametral pitch is 5.5. Let's see what happens if we change that to 5.6. We can put it back to 5.5 for now. We may actually, let's leave it at 5.6. We don't want to get that too high, these teeth jumping up too high. We may change that later, so leave that 5.6, and actually everything else can pretty much stay the same. So we'll go over to inlay, we're going to do holes, leave it at 5, the radius maybe a little bit bigger, the overall radius, let's move that out to about there, turn these into arcs, and increase the size of our center hole. And if you want to use a cutout, we can do it like that. You can use it. If you don't want to, you can, or not, whatever. Let's go into the inlay tab, and let's make this 90 degrees. Okay, so that this thing's pointing up. And let's go into our orientation on the teeth, and let's make that about 8. Let's see. I want to get that pretty much to the center of that tooth. It looks like about maybe 8.5 degrees. Now, the only reason I'm doing this is so when we're lining everything up, we have a dead center top spot, and this will help to lay our chain link in this one spot to get the right spacing and everything. Okay, so I'm gonna come up here and turn on my grid and back up to the splines, and we're going to grab a circle spline and just bring that down quite a bit. What I want to do is take the cogwheel for now, and we want to pull it down because I actually want to build this link in at its center, in the center of the viewport, and then we'll realign the cog when we're done. So anyway, I want to build this out of circle, or out of splines rather, because we want to be able to use the extrude function. Let's go to 17 on this, so that we can size it, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to go down one more, 16 for now. Okay, so fit that down in there like this. Okay, we want it down in there, and it can intersect a little bit, though will never be seen. So let's go with that. So here's what I'm talking about. Let's open this up. And this is the rig that I've already built, and I have a width control. Now I have a speed control, which we'll do later, but I also have a width control. So if you want to go in here and widen this out, we can do that. You can make it any width you want. Still plays great. Everything still works. And so you have a lot of flexibility. So with one rig, you can, you know, set up a lot of different kinds of looks for the chain. I mean, there's just a regular little sprocket thing. Oh, that's 0. Okay, we don't want 0, but let's say 10. And you got almost like a bicycle sprocket. So you've got a lot of options. And doing this with a extrude objects and splines allows us to very easily have that function. So let's go back to our thing. And all right, so we've got this. I ended up at 16 radius. I'm going to grab this handle and I'm going to hold Control. Now that's on the Mac. I'm not sure about Windows. Anyway, and so that's going to give me my first 2 rollers. Okay, so we're going to do this one first, and this is going to be the narrow part of the link, and this is going to be the wide part. So we're going to start with the narrow, and I do want to start naming this stuff. Narrow, and we're going to call this narrow roller. Okay, so then let's just turn this off for now. And so we've got our narrow roller. All right, and let's just duplicate that by holding down Control and drag. We got narrow roller, and let's make it. Let's just make it narrow hub, so there's no confusion. Okay, so this is going to be the inner part that actually the end of it sticks out of the link. You'll see that. So let's just, and this is not crucial. It's just whatever size we want to make it. And maybe let's see, 6. Maybe 6 is fine. Okay, so that's our narrow hub and our narrow roller. Let's go over here to, and this is going to be our wide roller. And not so good on the spelling or the typing. So that's our wide roller, and then we'll just Control drag that, and we're going to have the wide hub. Okay, so I believe our narrow hub was 6, and our wide hub should be also 6. Okay, so we're ready just to work on the link. So I'm going to go up here and turn the cogwheel off. So we just have our 2 rollers. Then, I don't know if to get into the viewport controls, if you hit Command V on, let's just show you here, Command V on a Mac, it'll bring up this. We go to the back and we can put an image in here. Let's see, diagram of chain, that's what we want. And okay, so that came in pretty well, but it's a little wonky. So I'm going to get rid of the keep aspect ratio because I want to squash down the Y a little bit till we get it pretty close. And that actually doesn't look too bad. Now I'm holding down options so I can get fractions in here. Okay, and then I may need to move up just a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty good. And then I'm going to take that back so we have, so we can see what we're working on. Okay, and I'm also going to take all these. We don't really need the hubs on right now. So I'm going to take the rollers. Take the rollers and go in here and turn this on and make these, make those red. So while we're working on our other spline, we're going to be able to see that. I think so. Okay,